So this is the tail skid, and it's cut out, and there's two very thin embossed areas right there and there that give you the edging of the internal balsa piece all the way down the middle. The reason I decided to do this in this order is I figured if I put this tail skid in, that would help elevate the rear end for when I put on the stabilizers. There's also a couple of embossed pieces on the tip there. So I started by taking my little balsa wood, which I thinned, by the way, because it was 1/16 and it was a little bit wide. But now it fits in that little slot just fine. Added some glue, made sure that it would fold over and look good and be relatively clean looking, which it does. This kit so far, in terms of the computer, I think it's computer done. Everything fits very, very well. Put some glue on either side of the paper and then folded it over, and it fit very cleanly. Um, if it doesn't, it's usually up to you not folding it right or not cutting it quite right, um, or having that internal piece, the skeleton, be a little bit too thick or whatever. But this turned out fine. I squish it down, make sure the glue is going to set, and then if there's edges that aren't quite right, go back and paint them up. I put some silver Sharpie on some of the metal parts, so there's a bracket up at the top where it connects into the body, and then the shoe on the bottom, metal shoe on the tail skid, and then touched up the edge with a little bit of brown. When you color things on the edge, they need to look darker. And it fits down this hole. There's a little spot in the back inside that's white and hatched, which is where you're supposed to glue it in. Now, I found it wouldn't reach until I cut a little slot in here. Don't know if that's my problem or not, but it works. It works fine. Put a little glue on both ends in case it actually goes to the top. It turns out it doesn't really go to the top. Hit the base of the fuselage on the spine of the fuselage. But you just slide this thing in, and then you make sure that it has a nice connection um, back on that rear piece. And so, in order to do that, I made sure I put some tweezers in there. But with some super glue in there, it dries really well, and it's not going anywhere. Get a little extra shot just in case. But no, it's in there. It's going to support it, no problem. Looks really good, actually. And what it does, again, it serves to lift up the rear end so that when we put the tail on there, we're good. So I also took a piece of very thin paper, just typing paper. I scanned a piece of the wing, actually, and I scanned the wing, and then I cut a slot off, a slice off of it, and used that to cover up that gaping hole where they had that gap. Wasn't a fan. Now this I did off camera because I couldn't figure out a better way to show people. You can see I put little wires in there. I drilled tiny holes and put them right where the spars are. The reason this happened is the kit is supposed to have, and then I put holes in here. I put two formers. I slid two formers up there. They go all the way up into the top of the fuselage, and they actually give it a little extra strength because all that bottom part right now is just paper. Now it's kind of robust, and I drilled those holes so I could get the actual, I could get the actual little pieces of wire in there. Now it's not supposed to do this. There's supposed to be spars that run right through the bottom, and of the fuselage. The problem is mine broke off after multiple times, and I finally just got rid of them. If you're careful, they should work and be automatically aligned. What I'm doing here is not the way the kit is supposed to go, and it's much more difficult to make it straight and pure and clean and nice. So I don't recommend doing what I'm doing. However, it worked for me after a lot of test fitting and being careful. Just sliding those off, and it's very robust. Turns out it's nice and strong. And I'll put some little, and you can see it's proud of the bottom. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to hang a little bit below the fuselage. The angle of incidence is correct. Everything looks actually pretty dang nice. Kind of surprised me, but you can see that looks good. And when you look at it head on, it's nice and flat. It's supposed to be straight. And you can see that I put some colored pieces there on the edge because that's the part that hangs down below, and a little glue on my wires, and slides right in. And again, this is going to be plenty strong, especially when you put all the other struts in. And put the top struts in that hold the top wing on, and then everything's going to be connected. It's going to be nice. Plus, I did put in some extra little bits on the bases there in order to get the wood sort of nice and connecting to the side. So that worked out really well. And so, I'm at this point rather surprised. I'm looking at it to make sure that I didn't do something wrong. Is it actually straight? Do they match? Does it have the right flatness? No dihedral? How does it look? And at this point, I'm sort of amazed. But again, those slots in the bottom are supposed to be contiguous with the spars, and that is the way it's supposed to be. And it would have worked, but mine broke because I was fiddling around trying to make them fit. And so I'm sure this is operator error, but I'll be jiggered. This actually looks like it's going to work. And this was a thing I was just dreading because I didn't really know how I was going to put the bottom wing on, knowing that I had flubbed it up initially. So I was just a slightest bit panicky. So there it is together, and there it is showing you that it's actually straight, um, which it is. And again, the angle of incidence is correct. It's supposed to be very slightly positive based on the pictures I've seen. So it looks fine. I'm very pleased with that. I'm just kind of amazed because, again, the way it's designed should work great. My problem was my fuselage was too wide. Don't know why. And my spars were 1/16 balsa, which was slightly wide. So when I tried to put them in the slot, they were very tight fit, and I put them in one time, and then I tried to pull them out, and I cracked them. So I just said, okay, we're going to stop, try something new. Now, I did all this sadly off camera, and this is what I'm very pleased with. Look at this. The tails. Now, the reason I did this off camera was it was very difficult to show what I was doing. I'm just going to try to explain kind of what I did. Right now, the struts are all in, the rudders are in, the rudders are in. I just don't have the little trapeze in the center section yet. That's laying on the ground there, but you can see it all came together. First thing I did was add the lower stabilizer, get it nice and solid and straight. And I had to get it solid and straight because my rear end of my fuselage is twisted. So what I did was the reason I put the lower wing on and made it square, there are those pieces. I tried putting them on first. That was a mistake. So I ended up just really doing it simply, adding a little glue, putting each of these struts in on the lower stabilizer. They're supposed to be vertical and dry vertical and be parallel, etc., etc. It's very simple geometry. Let them dry, and then I just put the top one, pop it right on top with a little bit more glue. And it actually is rather strong and just sits there. Now it'll get much stronger when I add the struts and when I add all the rest of the rigging. It's gonna be nice. But I'm just trying to show you that it's relatively straight. But again, my rear end is so crooked that I had to align the lower stabilizer with the wing, then build everything off of that. Had the rear fuselage not been crooked, this thing would have gone together lickety-split. But I had to really play with it to make it work. Now, it's going to be fine. Again, I'm going to add the other pieces in there just by hand, stick them up in there, and it's very pleasing. And when I rig it, it's going to be nice because that'll give you a lot of strength too. But it's so cool to have the tails on there, and I'm sorry I couldn't show putting it on, but other than making a false start trying to put the middle parts in first, the middle V's in first, that was a huge mistake because again, that top fuselage is twisted. So just putting on, just like I do with biplanes, putting the silly thing on to the four struts that are there and just making a little sandwich, then adding the sort of the cabane struts, the center struts after, is going to be the way to go, at least for me. So anyway, it's straight. It looks good to the wing. I am extremely chuffed.